The greatest heist of all time. The level of corruption that Elon Musk and his DOGE team are uncovering is absolutely mind-blowing. Michael Snyder reports, did you know that approximately $1 billion in obviously fraudulent payments flow through the U.S. Treasury payment system every week? Until Elon Musk and his DOGE team stepped in, nobody in the government was doing anything about this theft. And we'll have to read all the way to the end of the article for the details. Suspiciously, the Democrats are desperately trying to get the courts to keep Elon Musk and his team out of the U.S. Treasury payment system. Why is that? And what are they working so hard to hide? The truth is that Elon Musk and his DOGE team are beginning to scratch the surface of the greatest heist of all time, and the Democrats are starting to get very nervous. If they are allowed to complete what they have started, the American people will finally learn what has really been going on in Washington, and nothing will ever be the same after this. And according to the Washington Post, Musk and his team have been disrupting operations in at least 14 government agencies so far. Staffers and allies of Elon Musk's U.S. DOGE service have fanned out across Washington in recent days, seeking access to sensitive data and disrupting operations at least 14 government agencies in pursuit of a dramatically smaller federal government. DOGE, which stands for Department of Government Efficiency, has not disclosed the names of its staff, but the Washington Post has identified more than 30 people working for or closely with it by examining the internal directories of multiple agencies and interviewing numerous federal workers, virtually all of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation. The Washington Post is attempting to put the activities of Musk and his team in a negative light because the Post stands to lose quite a bit of revenue as their government contracts get canceled. But millions upon millions of ordinary Americans are thrilled about what Musk and his team are doing because they're finally learning what has really been going on behind the scenes. One of the latest agencies to get visitors from DOGE is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The DOGE team must have discovered something big because the acting director of the agency has ordered virtually all work to come to a standstill. Russell Vought, the acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, ordered staffers at the agency to stop all work in an email Saturday night. I'm committed to implementing the President's policies consistent with the law and acting as a faithful steward of the Bureau's resources, Vought wrote in an email reviewed by U.S. Today. Effective immediately, unless expressly approved by the acting director or required by law, all employees, contractors, and other personnel of the Bureau shall cease all supervision and examination activity. For those that don't know, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was created in 2011 after U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren relentlessly pushed for it, and since that time it's been pursuing a far-left agenda. Hopefully we'll soon get some details about what DOGE has learned about that agency. FEMA is another agency that just got a visit from DOGE. Less than 2 weeks after President Trump said his administration would consider making the Federal Emergency Management Agency go away, representatives of Elon Musk's U.S. DOGE service were at the agency and reviewing the grant programs it used to help communities prepare for and respond to disasters, according to 4 current and 2 former FEMA officials. The presence of DOGE, or Department of Government Efficiency at FEMA, has caused uncertainty and confusion, raising fears that Trump could soon follow through on his pledge to dismantle the agency, as the administration is doing with the U.S. Agency for Internal Development. According to the officials, a small team that does not have security clearance has access to FEMA's network, which contains the private and sensitive information of tens of thousands of disaster victims. For example, FEMA officials said that on February 5th, Edward Coriston, a 19-year-old former college student who goes by the moniker of Big Balls online and now works for Musk, was given a FEMA badge. The officials, like others interviewed for this report, spoke of the condition of anonymity because of fears of professional retaliation. I've written quite a lot about FEMA's failures in North Carolina and elsewhere. Hopefully the Trump administration can get that agency back on the right track because there are lots of people out there that still need help. On the other hand, USAID appears to be hopelessly corrupt and needs to be shut down permanently. This is an agency that was run by a woman that saw her net worth soar by $23.3 million while she was making a salary of $180,000 a year. Ex-USAID chief Samantha Power's net worth skyrockets from $6.7 million to $30 million on an $180,000 salary. Samantha Power, Biden's ex-USAID chief, saw her wealth explode while earning just $180,000 per year. Where did the extra $23.3 million come from? And all of this in just 3 years. USAID oversees billions of global funding. Where's she cashing in? The public deserves answers. Follow the money. Or, of course, it is not just Samantha Power that is swimming in cash. A secretive NGO known as Internews Network got almost $500 million from USAID. The following was just posted by WikiLeaks on Twitter. USAID has pushed nearly $500 million, $472.6 million, through a secretive U.S. government-financed NGO, Internews Network, IN, which has worked with 4,291 media outlets, produced in over 1 year 4,799 hours of broadcast, reaching up to 778 million people, and training over 9,000 journalists, 2023 figures. IN has also supported social media censorship initiatives. The operation claims offices in over 30 countries, including main offices in US, London, Paris, and regional headquarters in Kiev, Bangkok, and Nairobi. It's headed up by John Bourgault, who pays herself $451,000 a year. Bourgault worked out of the US Embassy in Moscow during the early 1990s, where she was in charge of $250 million budget, and in other revolts or conflicts at critical times, before formally rotating out of 6 years at USAID to IN. Bourgault's IN bio and those of its other key people and board members have been recently scrubbed from its website but remained accessible. Records show the board being co-chaired by Democrat Securocrat Richard Kessler and Simone Otis Cox, wife of NVIDIA billionaire Trench Cox, both major Democratic donors. In 2023, supported by Hillary Clinton, Bourgault launched a $10 million IN fund at the Clinton Global Initiative, CGI. The IN page showed a picture of Bourgault, and the CGI has also been deleted. IN has at least 6 captive subsidiaries under unrelated names, including one based out of the Cayman Islands. Since 2008, when electronic records began, more than 95% of IN's budget has been supplied by the US government. I was stunned when I first read that last line. Without the US government, Internews would essentially not have any revenue at all. So our tax dollars were paying Jean Bourgault's ridiculously bloated salary, and a whole bunch of other Internews employees were making more than $200,000 a year as well. They were living the high life at our expense. During the Biden years, one of the primary things that Internews was focused on was censorship of disinformation. USAID funded Internews CEO Jean Bourgault pushes for global advertising exclusion list or to censor disinformation at the World Economic Forum, like what they did to X. And disinformation makes money. We need to follow that money. We need to work with the global advertising industry because a lot of those dollars go to pretty bad content, and so you can work really hard on exclusion lists or inclusion lists and really try to challenge the global advertising industry to focus their ad dollars towards the good news. Notably, Bourgault called for a global and boycott coincided with a widespread advertising boycott targeting Elon Musk's X, which has been at the forefront of defending free speech online. USAID has funneled $472 million to Internews and $68 million to the WEF, where both groups collaborate on censoring the internet. Is this a good use of American taxpayer funds? Internews was being paid giant mountains of cash, to promote censorship of independent websites such as mine that dared to question the dominant narratives that were being pushed by the Biden administration. Needless to say, this violated the Constitution. The Biden administration was illegally using non-government entities to suppress the First Amendment rights of anyone that they did not agree with. I think that Internews must have quickly figured out that their scam was over once Donald Trump won the election, because the headquarters of Internews in California now appears to be abandoned. Sadly, I have a feeling that the fraud that will ultimately be uncovered at the U.S. Treasury will be even greater than the fraud that was going on at USAID. Elon Musk and his DOGE team were able to access the map, the Treasury payment system, before they left even realized what was happening. In the Treasury basement, fluorescent lights hummed above 4 young coders. Their screens cast blue light across the government-issued desks, illuminating energy drink cans and energy agency badges. As their algorithms crawled through decades of payment data, one number kept growing. 17 billion in redundant programs and counting. We're in Akash Boba, messaged the team, all of it. Edward Koristin's code had already mapped 3 subsystems, like Fariter's algorithms for tracing payments flows across agencies. Ethan Chautran's analysis revealed patterns that career officials did not even know existed. And by dawn, they would understand more about the Treasury's operations than people who had worked there for decades. Once the left learned that Musk's team was up to, they started screaming bloody murder, and now they're absolutely determined to get the courts to keep Musk's team completely out of the Treasury's payment system. But it may already be too late. It appears that Musk's team has already mapped the system and reforms are beginning. In fact, Elon Musk has released a list of initial reforms that the Treasury and his team have mutually agreed to. To be clear, what the DOGE team and the U.S. Treasury have jointly agreed makes sense is the following. Require that all outgoing government payments have a payment categorization code, which is necessary in order to pass financial audits. This is frequently left blank, making audits almost impossible. All payments must also include a rationale for the payment in the comment field, which is currently left blank. Importantly, we are not yet applying any judgment to this rationale, but simply require that some attempt be made to explain the payment more than anything. The do not pay list of entities known to be fraudulent or pay people who are dead or probably fronts for terrorist organizations do not match congressional appropriations must actually be implemented and not ignored. Also, it can currently take up to a year to get on this list, which is far too long. This list should be updated at least weekly, if not daily. The above super obvious and necessary changes are being implemented by existing long-time career government employees, not anyone from DOGE. It's ridiculous that these changes did not exist already. Yesterday, I was told that there are currently over $100 billion a year of entitlement payments to individuals with no Social Security number or even a temporary ID number. If accurate, this is extremely suspicious. When I asked if anyone at Treasury had a rough guess for what percentage of that number is unequivocal and obvious fraud, the consensus in the room was about half. So $50 billion a year or $1 billion a week. This is utterly insane and must be addressed immediately. Read those last 3 paragraphs again. Officials at the Treasury openly admit that about $1 billion in fraudulent payments are going through the system every week. That is a bombshell. So who is receiving those payments? If the truth about that comes out, it will be one of the biggest news stories of the decade. Our government has literally been hemorrhaging money, and at this moment, we don't know who has been stealing it. But the fact that the Democrats are working so hard to cover this up is extremely suspicious. And this is by Michael Snyder on End of the American Dream. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. This is by Michael Snyder, and about the author. Michael Snyder's new book entitled Why is available on paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 8 other books that are available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 70 Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and he's always freely and happily allowed others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.